What is going on, everybody? This is Josh, back again with another video on Tech and Ish. Now, today's video is going to be about Mayans. I've stopped reviewing this for a little bit, but Mike told me to talk more about it, so this one's basically for you, Mike. So this episode just aired, I believe it was like last week. I am a little bit behind because there's just too much things happening. A lot of shows are coming out, so it's hard to keep up with a lot of things. And this episode is, I believe it was episode 7, and this one was actually really good. I was hoping to talk about it. I was just going to skip it and then just go on to the next episode that aired today. But it looks like I'm having issues, trying to download it, and it just doesn't want to come up right now. So I figured, why not just talk about episode 7, because that one was actually really good. Now, if you remembered from episode 6, it did end off where Easy went to that guy's house who basically took a bribe for the property that Emily was trying to buy. So he went over there, basically try to do a thing where he can actually threaten him, kind of like that. And, things end up going sideways. He ends up punching the guy. The guy ends up having a gun, and the guy did something so stupid where I guess he had his finger on the trigger. Easy punched him, and it kind of like went up like this, and like the bullet came up through here and blew his whole brains out. The way they made this look badass, man. It looks sick. I'm definitely going to include a clip on that so you can actually check it out. But this is just going to go on to that. I kind of figured before I even watched this that they're going to make it look like a suicide attempt, because of course he's the one holding the gun, and on top of that he's shooting himself. But I didn't know anything about his whole financial issues or anything like that. So I figured they're going to do something like that to make it look suicidal. And that's basically what they do. So this episode is really good. So let me stop talking about it and let's just get into it. So as you can see, Easy basically is waking up in his home, or I guess it's just a trailer. But he's basically just waking up, and it looks like he's actually taking this pretty hard. The guy obviously killed himself. It's his own fault because he killed himself, but Easy basically made it happen, and he's actually taking this pretty hard. Emily keeps on calling him, and he's basically just ignoring her phone calls. I'm assuming he was just doing it because it's like, how do you tell her, well, this is what happened? I mean, he basically killed himself, but it's like, how do you actually say that over the phone? It's better to actually say it in person. But I guess he's just like trying to come up with the courage maybe. But, he's just leaving it like the way it is now. He's just going to ignore her calls for right now. Now, Emily hasn't heard anything from Easy throughout the whole night. He hasn't messaged her, called her, anything like that. And you can actually tell she's panicking about it. And you can tell Miguel is seeing her, and he sees that there's something up. Something's bothering her. Even the mom knows that something's bothering her. And they actually don't know what she did on this whole thing that happened. But I kind of think that as the episodes go on, they're going to find out. Now, if you remember, Coco, he basically had a daughter who was kind of like, they were trying to make it seem like that was his sister at the time, because the mom was taking care of her. But it turned out it was basically his daughter. And that all happened like on season 1. But he ends up having a daughter. It looks like she's actually living with him, and she does something that irritates me. I hate it when people end up, they drink their juice and they put an empty carton back into the fridge, or they end up eating the cereal and they eat everything up. There's nothing in the box, but they still put it back in the cabinet. And on top of that, you see all those dirty dishes. It's just a complete mess. I hate people that do stuff like that. Come on, why not just throw it away? It's right there. You can just easily throw it away. But, that's something different. So let's keep on going. So from the beginning, it was getting a little bit interesting with Coco, because he ends up seeing Leticia's friend inside the house, and automatically he assumes that it's basically a puta, a whore. And he ends up telling her that he doesn't want her inside the house, but in reality, it's a friend that Leticia's trying to help out. So he ends up grabbing her by the arm, because she's trying to walk away. He grabs her by the arm, and she kind of like,
who did this?
How when somebody hits you when, you got a bruise or something like that, or it's sore, she basically makes that reaction. He's trying to figure out what's going on. And I didn't expect this story to actually come out in Mayans, but it basically revolves around
When we met them, tried to pay the
some
balance.
coyotes were bringing that Leticia's friend into the United States. And I mean, I'm sure you've heard of this before. You know, you got to pay the coyotes just to get to Mexico, and then or just to leave Mexico. Once they get to the United States, they got to pay again. So Leticia ends up telling his dad about that, and she's basically saying that this is a biker gang that didn't care anything about the Mayans, that they basically laughed at them. Because Mayans basically, it seems like they've been kind of like on the down low lately. So it seems like, you know, they're not that much of a threat anymore. And Coco hears that, gets pissed off because they actually put hands on Leticia, and they're actually doing this on the Mayans turf. So he ends up going to go talk to the Mayans club, see if they can actually help out. So as I mentioned before, that guy who basically shot himself, where Easy punched him and he ended up shooting himself, Easy basically made it look like it was a suicide. Easy threw out a whole bunch of bills all over the table, and every single bill showed final notice. And within that time, he also sent an email out to the company that he was working for, letting them know the bribe that he accepted. He figured since he's already done all this, the only way he can go out is by killing himself. So the cops are taking this as a suicide. Even the mayor is taking this as a suicide. So I think Easy he got off pretty easy, pun intended. Emily finally finds out that that guy who basically shot himself is actually dead. She ends up seeing it on her phone, and it looks like her anxiety level went to 100. So she ends up blowing up Easy a bunch of times, but Easy's just ignoring her from this point on. So Coco ends up talking to his club. He ends up telling them this whole situation about the coyote, on what they're doing, on how they're doing it on their turf. They didn't ask for permission. They didn't do anything. They basically said that the Mayans are not going to do nothing. Coco tells them, and of course the president Bishop, he doesn't like what he's hearing, so he's basically going to do something about it. So keep in tune. It's going to get a lot better. Coco ends up telling Bishop about the MC club, which is Vatos Malditos. And Taza actually knows about them. He knows that all they really care about is money, and they do a lot of shady shit over there. So this is going to get really interesting. Taza ends up telling them that he actually used to be in that biker club a long time ago, but then he actually gained some sense, left it, and he ended up becoming a Mayan since then. But he knows how they roll. Now, if you've seen any Mexican, or any TV show that has some Mexicans in it, or a movie like a Fast and the Furious movie, you always end up seeing this one guy who was always in it. Now, he always ends up having like a small part, but his face is recognizable. I haven't seen this guy in a long time, and he looks exactly the same. Only difference is he has a little bit of gray on his chin, but other than that, he looks exactly the same. So I was happy that they actually brought this guy out. His name goes by Louis in this episode. And I was actually happy that they brought this guy out. And he plays the same role all the time. But this guy is just memorable to me. The Mayans end up telling Louis to basically keep an eye out. He wants to know if there's a lot of bikers going in and out. And I started cracking up because he ends up taking them to this house where there's like a lot of bikers. And these dudes are on like some mopeds. And, the Mayans basically get pissed off because he's wasting their time, ends up raising like the taxes on the street or something like that. But I thought it was so funny that you end up seeing guys on mopeds just pulling up to a house, and he calls them a biker gang. So here comes an interesting part. They finally end up figuring out where they're at because they're constantly ordering food, and they always end up having a bunch of food delivered to that house. They finally find out where that house is at. They see that that house is barely even guarded. They go up to that house. Easy knocks on the door, basically telling them it's food delivery. And of course, Vatos Malditos, they don't even know what's going on. They let Easy in, and then right away, guns just start blazing. You end up seeing a lot of people get killed, or not a lot, but you end up seeing, they end up getting killed, and they get hurt, they get shot, and it actually looks really good. Now, it kind of made me feel some type of way because all of these, they got nothing but men inside this house. They got nothing but men inside it, And then it seems like in the basement they have the women there, and just like the way they were living, the way they actually kept them in a room with, you know, it looks like no AC, no windows because everything's all boarded up. Just like the way they were actually treated them made me feel some type of way. And I was actually glad that each one of these guys got a bullet in them because of what they actually did. So now, if you remember, Coco is trying to find Leticia's friend's mom and brother. Now, of course, they're not in this house. They're somewhere else. They don't know where they're at. They're trying to talk to the people who were captured there, and they're trying to tell him, you know, where they at. They're basically in some cages somewhere far away. They're actually afraid to talk because one of the MC guys, from the Vatos Malditos, he's still alive, and he's giving them that look like you better not talk. Bishop ends up going around, or not Bishop, Coco ends up going next to that guy, and he just shoots him. And it was funny because when he shoots him, the blood splatter ends up going on easy, and Coco's like, man, my bad, dude, I didn't try to do that. But it was actually pretty funny. Bishop ends up telling him, is this better? Now that guy ends up talking freely, and they find out where those cages are at. So since that employee guy who ended up killing himself, he ended up confessing that he ended up taking a bid from the Chinese people. So their bid is off the table. Now the only ones who are going to own the property is going to be Miguel and you know, his corporation. And, you know, the mayor is letting them know that. And I think from this point on, that's when Miguel is getting a little bit suspicious of Emily on, you know, what is she doing? She ends up asking one of his guys, I need you to follow her 24/7 because I need to know who she's talking to or what the hell she's doing. So by far, in my opinion, this scene was the best part. The Mayans finally find out where the cages are at. And you end up seeing an inside look on how Vatos Malditos were treating these people. They were, of course, they were dying of thirst. The guy is just, you know, pouring water in a cup, and he's just throwing it at them. And these guys and the people who are in the cages, they're actually trying to get a drink out of it. They end up throwing bread inside, and the guys are picking it up off the floor because, of course, they haven't ate. So the way they actually treated these people was messed up. In my opinion, it was just messed up. And I was actually glad that they got what they deserved. The Mayans end up busting in there, and they end up just killing everybody. And you end up seeing one of those Vatos Malditos grabbing some gas, and he's about to pour it all over those cages, or kind of like a straight line on those cages. And I was hoping that they didn't die. And they did kill all the Vatos Malditos, and they were able to save all the immigrants that were in there. So this was actually a really good scene to watch, and I was actually happy that it ended on a good note. Now, I kind of feel like maybe on the next episode, Vatos Malditos might retaliate because of this whole thing, because the main guy, or the main president of that biker club, wasn't there. He was giving orders. So I kind of feel like they're going to get retaliation on this. But since it's the Mayans, I'm pretty sure they're going to handle their business. Now, if you remember, Hap ended up killing Easy and Angel's mom. And he basically did it because he was ordered to do it, or somebody paid him to do it. And Easy is trying to find out who actually ordered the hit. Now, there's these papers that Hap gave them, and it looks like Easy doesn't know how to decipher them. So towards the end, you end up seeing him give those papers to Emily, and I think she's going to try to help him in this. So this episode was really good. If you haven't seen episode 7, you should definitely check it out. It's basically a must watch. You should not miss this one. And episode 8, I definitely won't miss that one either, because Sons of Anarchy ends up coming into this show, and a lot of familiar faces end up coming up. So I'm definitely going to keep in tune to this. I'll definitely continue to review this into my channel. So if you like it, let me know. Let me know in the comments if there's something you want me to check out, and I'll definitely put it up here. Subscribe to my channel. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.